Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We have a awesome show for you. Special guest, Maan and Eric were able to sit down with, she is well known in Bengaldom. Somebody that is very connected to this organization. Emmy Award winner. She is awesome, and you guys are about to see the interview for that. Then we have our roster, our early roster predictions tonight as well. We always love doing this show. Interesting to see what you and I choose. But before we get to all of that, Maan, how you been doing, bud?
Doing good. Got back from Massachusetts. I was up there for about 5-6 days, and glad to be back in Florida. It's beautiful up there, but at night it gets a little cool. And the town we stayed in is a little spooky at night. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got some Salem's Lot, some vampire, freaking me out a little bit. But I'm glad to be back in Florida, and
I'm sure Heather protected you. I'm sure you were protected.
I was. During the day, it's great, but we had to park and walk to our hotel. I'm like, man, get me out of here. What's going on? And but I was trying to be stoic for everybody. Now I'm letting everybody know I was scared. So
now you've had nightmares for 3 nights. Maan, after we do our roster predictions too, guys, the ticket giveaway, Maan, is also tonight. So we have an incredible guest, 53-man roster prediction, and then of course the tickets that we're going to be giving away to the Colts Bengals this upcoming Thursday. Maan, before we get to that though, again, you and Eric got to sit down with Emmy Award winner Elise Jesse. Again, she is very well connected with the Bengals organization. I am very excited to watch this interview. We're going to kick it to the interview now and then come back and do the 53-man roster prediction. So without further ado, here it is. Eric and Maan sitting down with Elise Jesse today, talking Bengals football.
Hooday, Bengals fans. Today is a big day for the Bengals Pulse as we have a great interview lined up for you. Our guest today is an Emmy Award-winning journalist that has been covering the Bengals since 2013. We're excited to introduce Bengals insider, Elise Jesse.
Hello.
Hey, Elise, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. This is a busy time for you, and to give us a few minutes makes us feel really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be on with you both, and I can't wait to chat. Let's go.
Yeah, we're a little worried because we're like, oh, this is joint practices with the Colts today. We might be messing up for days, so we really appreciate you coming on.
No, it's all good.
With that, we'll get right into our questions.
Okay.
Our listeners know we're displaced fans. We live here in Florida, so we often miss out on the excitement that happens in and around the city. We are really feeling those 2022 vibes coming off of that Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it's like around the city? Is everybody else sharing that optimism? Are they feeling like it's coming off that Super Bowl run?
I mean, the city is happy and excited. I think the majority of that excitement comes from the fact that Joe Burrow is healthy and going so far. He's progressing through a full training camp. So that's really exciting to see. And, I think they are excited. The city is always optimistic, especially before the season starts. And I feel like people in Cincinnati I was born and raised here, so I'm well versed in the vibe of Cincinnati. I feel like usually people are pretty optimistic up until week 6. If something starts going wrong, they start to freak out a little bit. But until then, they remain strong.
Good deal. Elise, under Zach Taylor, the Bengals have notoriously started slow. 0-2, and a beat writer last year. I'm not going to say his name. He mentioned he described training camp as a country club training camp, basically, a little light, and he was joking around. Have you noticed a difference with this year's training camp? Obviously, Joe Burrow and the starters did play against Tampa, but overall, has it been more physical? Have you noticed a different approach to try to get the Bengals off to a faster start?
I wouldn't say. I think the country club analogy is really funny. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that. I think that in this day and age, especially when you're playing so many games now, I think coaches are really looking at the importance of having their players healthy and having them available on game days when it counts.
Right.
So many of their jobs and a lot of the players' jobs, are determined with wins and losses and whether or not they can go out on the field and actually put out the numbers that they're expected to. And so I think really what Zach Taylor and his staff are trying to do is make sure that the key players stay healthy, because the last thing you want to see happen is having a super physical practice and then one of your key players, like Joe Burrow, for example, gets hurt and isn't able to start the season, or he's dealing with a lingering issue to start the year. And that's just not what any coach wants at this point.
No, but I remember a couple weeks ago, he said that Joe Burrow and the starters were going to play against Tampa. I thought he was BSing us. I'm like, there's no way Joe Burrow's going to play against Tampa. And sure enough, I'm here watching the game. I'm like, that's Joe Burrow on the field. What's going on here? So, but no, I thought maybe that they turned it up a notch, maybe just to get off their faster start. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think with the schedule, I expect a faster start this season.
Yeah, I think there was a sentiment that, if Joe was actually able to go out in the preseason and go through a series and just get his feet wet in the preseason, that maybe that would help aid them towards their goal of starting faster in the year. Maybe that would help them out. And multiple players in the offseason, even now, are realizing how important it is to start fast. There's no wiggle room at this point to have a slow start.
Right.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's no reason not to be at least 3-1 after that first stretch this year. You've got the Panthers, you've got the Patriots. Your only challenge in there is the Chiefs. So if you don't come out of that at least 3-1, then it's going to be another negative aspect there. Transitioning to one of the other topics of training camp, and really the biggest topic, is Ja'Marr Chase's contract. There's so much speculation going on with that, with the one day he missed during last week's practice. Have you gotten any sense that that's affecting the team or any morale lowering aspects to that? And do you have a prediction whether or not that deal is going to get done soon?
So I haven't noticed any kind of shift in morale with the rest of the locker room with them. I talked to Ja'Marr Chase a little bit. He said he was not allowed to talk about any of the stuff that we were talking about. But I was just, wondering if his timing would be messed up with Joe, like going into the season, if they didn't have any sort of, reps together, if they had to work on timing, if they were doing, private practices. Now, this was at the end of July when I spoke with him, and he was very cool, calm, and collected. He was not worried about his timing with Joe. He had not been doing anything really football related to that point. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jay Morrison actually tweeted that Ja'Marr Chase got on a cart with the assistant wide receivers coach, and it looked like they were going maybe to the bubble to get work in. So maybe now is the point where he starts, working and trying to get timing right and making sure that he's in football shape for when that deal does get done. I'm not one of those people who worries about whether or not this deal is going to get done. It gets done when it gets done. Most of these deals are held up by the number of years, where the player and his agent and the team, they disagree on years, they disagree on guaranteed money. And it could be something like that. Now, I know that Chad Johnson, when he did an interview, and was talking about how, he doesn't think that Ja'Marr Chase will touch the field. He thinks that the deal has to get done before then. And I am simply just a person who deals in facts. And you noticed with Adam Schefter asking him, like, how does he know this? what makes you say what you're saying on this interview right now? And he was just saying, I just think this, I just know this. Now, I respect Chad Johnson with his vision of how he sees wide receivers talent and stuff like that. But as far as knowing whether or not a deal is going to get done, I don't think he knows, because he said he didn't even talk to Jamar Chase. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight in that. Jamar's not talking about it. So it gets done when it gets done. And I think that he is focused on being healthy and being ready for the season.
Good deal. Elise, I want to switch to the offensive line real quick. Arguably, this is going to be the best offensive line that Joe Burrow's had since he's been in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned, many other Bengal fans are, about the depth of this offensive line. Do you think the Bengals, they'll be active at the waiver wire potentially, or maybe remember the B.J. Hill trade with Billy Price a few years ago that really worked out in our favor? Could you see them potentially looking for depth there? Because I think the starting five are solid. I don't know about the backups. A couple okay, but how do you see this offensive line for 2024?
I think the offensive line is solid, and I think that was a big importance for Joe Burrow, and I think it was something of importance at the top of their priority list. The Cincinnati Bengals staff, I mean, getting 5 guys who can protect Joe Burrow, the face of the franchise, one of the most expensive players in the NFL. You've got to be able to protect this man. And obviously they made that a top priority, going out and getting Trent Brown. They draft Amarius Mims. They have created an offensive line that is up to the challenge to protect him, especially in the AFC North, where those defensive ends can really, really hurt an offensive line in the trenches of the game. Now, as far as depth, I wouldn't be too worried about that. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't remember how many games they went straight, but the starting 5, they went like 8 or 9, maybe it was 13 straight games without an issue. And the majority of that offensive line is still here. They keep themselves in good shape. A lot of the guys don't even drink alcohol during the season. They take really good care of their bodies, and they make sure that they are ready for game day because they know how important their job is on Sundays.
Yeah. See, that Zach Taylor training camp is protecting those guys. You see,
I'm all for the country club training camp. I really am. Like, keep the guys healthy, make sure that they are actually available when it matters.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't care to see a physical practice in July. I really don't.
Let's switch over to the defensive line real quick. Obviously, DJ Reader is no longer here. He's one of my all-time favorite Bengals. He was the Joe Burrow of that defense. How do you think the defensive line is going to play out? How are they going to replace him? I mean, he's tough to replace. They don't really have a big body. I know they drafted McKinley Jackson. He's been injured. How do you think that interior defensive line is going to play out this year?
I think that Coach Hobby will have them ready to go. I think that the Bengals defensive staff, Lou Anarumo, Coach Hobby, like, they knew what they would be losing when DJ Reader left. They knew already with DJ Reader on the line, they still had massive issues. They were one of the last teams in the NFL as far as stopping the run was concerned, and that was with DJ Reader playing. I think there has been an emphasis on being more athletic, better technique. And Sam Hubbard was also dealing with an injury last season. He is back in a jersey today, as far as I understand. And I expect Sam Hubbard to be much more on his game, I guess you could say. I know that's the exterior off defensive line, but I expect him to be making a bigger impact this year too.
Yeah, and one other thing, I know this person isn't a defensive tackle, but how big is Von Bell coming back and being the glue to this defense? I think that's going to be big. I think it's going to help everybody out.
That's huge. What they were missing last season was a veteran presence. So many of those young guys going in, they might not see something that a veteran would see. They might not see something that a veteran could point out in the middle of the game. And I think the veteran eyes, the veteran experience, and the way that vets are able to stay so cool and calm under pressure in live action is so beneficial, because not only does it help your defense as a whole, but the younger guys who are seeing that and learning from them, they seem to make big strides when they're learning from a player, because they're not going to ingest all of their information from a coach. Sometimes harsh conversations and some critique needs to come from one of your peers, and the vets bring that. And Von Bell is one of the biggest pieces that I think is going to help the secondary.
looking forward to him being
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him.
Real excited to have him back out there. Switching gears a little bit here, we just got a couple questions left. Elizabeth and Caroline have really upped their game and upped the fan experience. You know, from the white tiger, the white out, the stripe, the giant jungle. Now we get an orange out. That's my all favorite. I've been calling for that for years. How much of an impact have they been on turning the presence of this team around and really engaging the youth and all the fan experience?
I really love how Elizabeth Blackburn has seemed to just step into her own as far as creating a fun atmosphere and making it fun for the fans, getting the fans involved, and then just making decisions that make the fans feel like they are really a part of this team. I think Elizabeth Blackburn is one of the big transformers of her age. And I think the orange out was a great idea. You know, they talk about orange represents optimism and energy. And I obviously I know Bengals fans have a lot of energy, very optimistic. And I think things like that are cool. I think the stripe the jungle last year was really cool. I know Elizabeth Blackburn had a lot to do with that. I think she brings a very refreshing take on, you know, just updating the team, if that makes sense, like updating how they are with their fan base.
Yeah, it really seems like they're out here on Twitter listening to the stuff that we put out there, because everything we've asked for, they've turned around and given us. Get you out of here on this last question. It's great to transition when we're talking about optimism. Earlier this offseason, we had Dan Hort on our podcast, and he said that the stars are aligning. He predicted that this is the year that the Bengals will win the Super Bowl. Maan's thinking Bengals have 12 to 14 wins. I've been on record saying that we are going 17 and Joe. I'm coining that phrase, 17 and Joe. Do you share our optimism? What do you think for predictions this year?
I do share your optimism. I'm not going to put that label on the team already. I'm not going to go. I'm not someone who just like overhypes things. That's just not who I am. But I do think that they will win the division. And I think that winning the division, winning the AFC North is the best path to making a deep run in the Super Bowl. And I think that they will be able to accomplish that this year, especially with a healthy Joe Burrow. Obviously, as you guys know, it all rides on health of your key players, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the guys who are charged with making the big plays. As long as they stay healthy, the offensive line as well, the defensive line, secondary, guys like Dax Hill, like these guys have got to stay healthy. And as long as they stay healthy, I think that they can absolutely win a championship.
It's good to hear.
I love it. Keep on talking. Yes.
Yeah.
As long as they're healthy, I'm optimistic. I'm all about the health of the team. If they're healthy, I have full confidence in that they can go out and be on the Super Bowl stage and win a Super Bowl.
I mean, we see what we did without them being healthy. You know, Joe wasn't healthy most of the year, and we still won 9 games. I mean,
imagine if he was healthy, though.
Right.
How many more wins Bengals fans would have been celebrating if he were healthy, or how much easier their path would have been.
Yeah, we're banking on that AFC Championship game in Cincinnati. That vibe would be something, and that's
crazy.
That's what we're manifesting over here.
I love it.
Well, where can Bengals fans find you, Elise?
They can find me on Elise Jesse TV. That's kind of the handle for all of my social media. And if I see you at a Bengals game, say hi.
Oh,
absolutely. Thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it. We're big fans, and it's an honor to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, especially you're having Dan Hort. Oh my gosh, I'm like a peon compared to him. Thank you for having me.
We get Dan maybe once a year, so yeah, we're in the presence of Bengals royalty. So we're excited to have you here, and we appreciate it.
I think you're the first Emmy Award winner, right? Does Dan have an Emmy? I don't know, but
if he doesn't, I would be shocked. If Dan Hort did not have an Emmy Award, I would definitely be surprised.
We're on another level. Thank you.
Thank you guys. So I appreciate it.
Hooday.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
She's great. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. All right, Bengals fans, if you haven't had a chance, go watch her interview with Muma Jameta. You know, she's the woman single-handedly responsible for most Bengals fans knowing how to pronounce that name and getting excited about him getting on the team. So with that, we're going to kick it back to Jake and Maan in the studio live.
We are live. Look at those two knuckleheads right there on the screen. There we go. Hey,
sort of locked up there.
Hey, real quick, Elise, thank you so much for joining the Pulse. We really appreciate it. Incredible stuff there from Elise. Again, Maan, it's got this season's got that feeling, man. We got the media on board. We stay healthy. We know how this is. We know how this could end up. So, but we want to thank Elise for joining the Pulse. We really appreciate it. Make sure you check her out. She is awesome, does great stuff. Again, I'm sure most of you know who she is, but check her out again at Elise Jesse TV. Elise, thank you so much for joining the Pulse. All right, Mom, here we go. It is time for the not so early roster predictions. Before we get to it, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is awesome to have you guys. Houday, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Listen, as Maan and I go through this, throw your comments in the comment section. Let us know what you think about your roster predictions. And obviously, we know that Maan is probably going to be wrong about some of these. Make sure you comment in the comment section and let Maan know that he is wrong. We absolutely love that. Here on the Pulse. All right. Here we go, Maan. Here we go. Quarterbacks first. All right, let's go. Listen, oh, by the way, guys, Maan and I have no idea who the other one chose. We sent our roster predictions separately to Eric. So I'm very, very excited to see at some of these positions. Although I'm 100% sure that we got these two the same. Here we go, Maan. The 2024 roster predictions. Look at that right there. Maan and I on the same page. Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. Although, Maan, we talked about this a little bit before. Jake Browning, with that hip issue, could end up turning into something a little bit more serious. Hopefully not. Again, we read everywhere that this guy is considered one of the top 5 backups in the league. We do not want to see Jake Browning not be able to play. Oh, rib issue. I said hip issue. What am I saying? Rib issue. Maan, hip is Robbins. That's right. Hip is Robbins. So let's talk about this. But again, the same thing, rib issue, something that could end up being a serious thing, Maan. Is this going to be, or you think Jake Browning is going to be ready to go?
I think it's going to be fine. I do not want to see Jake Browning play one down this year. And it's not a personal shot at him. If they want to scan to his girlfriend in the stands, that's fine. But I don't want him to play a snap this year. I want Joe Burrow to play the whole season. And I think Jake Browning is going to be fine. I do. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been on Bengals Twitter the last few days, and all I see is black glove and the wrist, and everybody's talking about Joe Burrow. I just need my quarterback to stay healthy.
Maan, we're not worried about that wrist anymore. Come on now. That's old. That's old news. We're not worried about that. But Jake Browning, again, with the rib thing, and, again, throwing the football, there's a lot of torque in the hip, and that works its way up to the ribs. And obviously, that could cause some issues for Jake. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully he's back healthy. I don't think any of us want to see Logan Woodside rolling in as number 2 on opening day. And that's not a shot at Logan Woodside, but Jake Browning, obviously, signed a 2-year deal in the offseason. He is a special player. But here we go. Let's move on. Joe Burrow, Jake Browning. We know that one. Wide receiver. Here we go, Maan. Wide receiver. Let's look at it. All right. So it's exactly the same. All right. So obviously Jamar and T at the top. Yoshi. I have Bert. We have the same guys.
Yeah.
Again, I do think we are going to. I think we're going to look at the bubble here at the end, and I think you're going to be interested to see who one of my guys is. I think that could make this roster, but who do you think? Who do you think is the number 3 receiver? You have Yoshi on here. I have Jermaine.
That's not the order. I mean,
That's not the order. Okay.
6. Yeah, that's not.
Who do you think? Who do you think's number 3? Real quick. Who do you think?
Well, it did fall perfectly. I think Yoshi Boss is going to be number 3.
Okay.
Personally, okay. I think Irwin will be 4. I think Burton is going to be 5, and then Charlie Jones 6. They're going to be really special team heavy. I think Burton is going to be a special teams kick returner. We saw that against the Browns or the Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 7 here. We've talked about it in past episodes. I just think they could potentially go 7 here because of special teams. Because of special teams, it's a big unknown. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We're going to be talking about other position groups. We're going light. Remember, we did this episode about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and some of my numbers have changed because the way training camp has panned out. But they could go 7 at wide receiver.
Okay, and I think you're right about that. And again, we're going to talk about the bubble here coming up. So, guys, for the ones on audio listening, we have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Yoshi, Burton, Charlie Jones, and Trent Irwin making this roster. Mon and I both have the Bengals keeping 6. I do think that Jermaine Burton is. I think he is going to be number 3. I'm not sure it's going to be week 1, but I do think so. Houday, Dalton, thanks for joining us, man. It's been a long time. We appreciate you joining. All right, here we go, Mon.
Yes,
let's
sir.
move on. We're 2 for 2. We are 2 for 2. Here we go. Running backs. Let's see what Mon and I have. Wow, there's a big surprise. So we both have the Bengals keeping 3. They are exactly the same 3. Although, Mon, I do want to say this, that obviously Chase Brown and Zach Moss make this roster. There's no doubt about that. Who starts, Zach Moss or Chase Brown?
Zach Moss all the way. Zach Moss is our starting running back. It's going to be a running back by committee, though. Brown is going to get a lot of touches. He's explosive, but Moss is going to be the running back 1. I agree with Jennifer there. I would not be surprised if number 3 turns out to be a Samaje Perine or running back. They could keep 4, just like wide receiver. They could keep 7 there. They could keep an extra one. That means they'd go light at another spot. Yeah. It's a big unknown right now. So I would not be surprised if they go 4. But right now, I think it's going to be this 3. Remember, Travion Williams was a draft pick of Marvin Lewis. He's a survivor. He has made this roster.
He's one of the last.
Yes, he is. And listen, hey, he's doing something right because multiple different coaches, 2 different coaching staffs love him, and he could be on this roster all 17 games or all 20 games after we win a Super Bowl.
I'm trying to think. We have Sam Hubbard, we have Travion Williams. I don't know. Is there another Bengal on this roster right now that is a
help us out,
Lewis
fans?
guy?
Help us out.
Yes, help us out. I don't, Jennifer. Jennifer is in the know. Like, Jennifer, is there another guy on this roster that's a Marvin Lewis guy? I think it's down to 2. It's down to 2. So. We had Jesse Bates was obviously 1, but I think we're down to 2 now. Crazy that the Bengals are, they're almost out of the Marvin Lewis era. And it's weird that Travion Williams is one of those 2. Like you said, he's a survivor. I'm going to be Jennifer says no. So it's down to 2. It's down to 2. And I'm going to tell you, man, I love what you guys are saying. If Samaje is there, you got to add him to this roster. I mean, he is a proven guy. I like Travion. You and I got to hang out with him for a while one day. Cool dude. Love talking to him. Very, very intelligent guy. Great football guy. Great knowledge of the game. But Samaje, he just brings a little something extra, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Bengals go 4 or not. But I agree with you too. Zach Moss is the starter at running back against the New England Patriots. Here we go. Tight end. This one I'm going to be interested to see what you put here. Let's see here. Tight end. Okay. Maan is on the Tanner Hudson bandwagon. I knew that was coming. Awesome. I bet when you text that to Eric, he was so excited. He's probably jumping for joy. What were you going to say, buddy?
No, Eric messed up. I'm looking at it right now. I have Sample, All, Gesicki, and I don't have Hudson on the team. I have McLaughlin on the team.
I knew it. Maybe Eric did that as a joke. I knew that was too good to be
sabotage.
True.
This is sabotage. He's trying to get Eric. We'll talk about this later.
A little Beastie Boys sabotage thrown in there on Maan. I absolutely love it. Yeah,
Sorry,
right, Eric. Yeah, right. I don't believe that. I think he did that on purpose. Eric, a big T Huddy guy. So all right, Maan. So you had Mike Gesicki, Drew Sample, All, and McLaughlin. I have Gesicki, Sample, Hudson, and McLaughlin. And I think I will say this, and again, I don't want to talk about the bubbles yet, but Eric All has a shot at making this roster, Maan, and we talked about it before. Could the Bengals keep 5 tight ends, Maan? What do you think?
I think Eric All's a lock. He's not on the bubble. If anybody's on the bubble, it's McLaughlin and Hudson. Eric All is a lock. He's a local guy. He's coming off a knee injury. I do agree with there, but he's going to be lights out. He's going to be a star if he stays healthy.
I just don't see them putting and again, Jennifer and I once again on the same page. Jennifer, great minds think alike. I think the Bengals are not going to put either one of the Tanners on the practice squad because I think they will be gone. I don't think Eric All will be gone if he goes on the practice squad. I don't think so.
Oh God, he's gone.
I don't. He's had a serious injury situation the last couple years. I don't see him being gone. I don't think he'll get a spot on the roster.
I think Eric All will get picked up immediately if he gets cut. I think he'll be. I really think that there'll be a demand for him. He's looked good. Yes, coming off that injury, I'm actually surprised. Remember, I had him on PUP.
Yeah,
but they cleared him, and I think he's a lock. I think Eric All is a lock for this roster.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll talk about the bubble stuff coming up here, but let's move on to Maan's favorite position, and that is the offensive line. And again, you talked about it with Elise earlier today, Maan. This is the best offensive line that Joe Burrow has had in his tenure. And I talk about this with anytime I get together with buddies and we talk football and they don't follow the Bengals, obviously, like I do. And they don't understand how poor this offensive line has been the last couple of years. And I don't think people really appreciate that Joe Burrow basically, again, defense was really good, but Joe Burrow basically put this team on his back in 21 and carried them to a Super Bowl behind the worst offensive line in the NFL, Maan. This offensive line this year is different. Let's see who we got. I'm very interested to see who you got here, Maan. Wow, I knew you were going to put Nate on there. I knew it. I could have bet my car on that. All right, let's talk about this. Here we go. Maan and I both have, obviously, Orlando Brown Jr., Cordell Volson, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, Trent Brown. I have Trent Brown starting. I did my list that way, but I know you didn't. unless you did, maybe, I don't know. Amarius Mims, we both have those two guys at 5 and 6. I have Jackson Kirkland. You have Jackson Kirkland. I have Matt Lee. You have Matt Lee. But the difference is Mon threw a twist in this thing and put Nate Gillum in this, making this roster. And Mon, Eric didn't put it on here, but I actually have when I sent the roster prediction, I put on there that my number 9 offensive lineman is not on this roster yet, because I think cut down day the Bengals will be adding an interior offensive lineman. But I'm interested to hear you tell me a little bit about Nate Gillum, because I know I think he played well against the Bears this past week. You really think he can make this roster?
I do. The Bengals, sometimes they keep 10 offensive linemen, and I have them down at 9. And I agree with you. I think there's another offensive lineman that's on another roster right now, because when I sent in that list to Eric, I put down that running back, offensive line, or cornerback is on another roster potentially for this team. Nate Gillum, a practice squatter for 2 years. Jackson Kirkland, undrafted free agent from last year, spent time on the practice squad. Listen, during preseason, the Bengals trot out the same guys: Carmen, the draft picks, Deontay Smith. They want the light bulb to come on. They invested draft capital in them. They want these guys to just produce. In the preseason game, it hasn't worked. It hasn't happened. So they're finally given really significant snaps in this preseason, not fourth quarter snaps. We're talking the whole game. Nate Gillum played 63 snaps the other day. He played 100% of the snaps on the offensive line. He played very well. Is he going to be a superstar? No, he's not going to be a superstar. But this guy's been in the league. He's been in the Bengals system for 2 years. He's gotten bigger and stronger. I think the guy deserves that last spot. And Kirkland, he played left tackle at Washington. He's built like Andrew. I'm not saying he's Andrew Whitworth, but he's built like him. He had a lot of talent. His senior year, his last year there, he was injured. Draft stock fell. So you know what? The light bulb's coming on for him. He's healthy. Listen, our starting 5 are good. It's the depth. And you know what I saw last week?
We got 6. We got 6 good ones.
Yes, we do.
Right?
We absolutely do. But what I saw in that game, screw the score. Who cares? We played against the first team defense of the Chicago Bears. Those guys held up. They held up well. Yeah. And, hey, man, that's what it's about. Practice squatters busting their butt. They don't get paid like everybody else. Give them an opportunity, and those guys are hungry. They want to eat. I think they're going to make it. I think Kirkland and Gillum make this roster. Bengals are going to go with 9. And, Jake, I agree with you. They could pluck somebody from the waiver wire.
I just see it happening. Crypt Keeper. He's asking where's Jackson Carmen at, Mon? Where's Jackson Carmen? I don't think any of us think that Jackson Carmen's going to make this roster. Now, this is an interesting one because Jennifer asked about Cody Ford. Mon, I will let you go first why you don't think he will make this roster, and then I'll follow you. Go ahead.
Wait a second. You know what? I had Ford on this roster. Eric, I had Ford on there. I had Ford on my list. I'm looking right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe I messed up there. Yeah, I on my text to you, I did have Cody Ford. So maybe Nate Gillum doesn't make it. No, I had Cody Ford on there. So I did have the Bengals at 10 then.
Well, this is what I had.
We'll look at it in a bit.
Jennifer, I'll tell you, this is what I had on my roster. So for my ninth spot, when I sent it in, I put basically player to be named later or Cody Ford. Now, to me, if they don't go get somebody off of the waiver wire, it's going to be Cody Ford's going to be the 9th offensive lineman. I don't think there's no way any of those other guys make it over Cody Ford, but I think the Bengals are seriously going to go pluck somebody off of that waiver wire. And if they do, I don't think Cody Ford makes this roster. I just don't see it happening.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you
finish. I just think if there's somebody better out there and the Bengals like somebody more, he could be the guy. And the reason why Jackson Kirkland and Matt Lee make this roster is because they're young. There's still a potential there with both of those guys. And Cody Ford, we know he's a traveler. I mean,
Yeah.
I just feel like if the Bengals go get somebody, Cody Ford doesn't make this roster. Go ahead.
No, I just want something. It's a simple mistake. To me, Kirkland and Gillum are the last two that make the offensive line. One of them would be expendable. Cody Ford is one of the top reserves coming off the bench. He's been playing tackle and guard. Cody Ford is a lock to make the team. He is a lock to make the team. It's going to happen. The Bengals usually go 10 offensive linemen. If they do go 9, the guy I just talked up, Nate Gillum, might be back on the practice squad. But Cody Ford is going to be on this roster. Cody Ford makes his team. He makes it.
I don't know, man. Listen, I agree with you. If the Bengals do not go pluck somebody, I think Cody Ford makes this roster. But I don't know, Mon. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. He's to me, he's on the bubble. I really think he's on the bubble. I don't think he is a lock, but I do think if the Bengals go 9, they don't pluck somebody, and they're going to go 9. They don't pluck somebody. I think it is Cody Ford, but I'm going to tell you why a little bit later. Why I think the Bengals go 9. But here we go. All right, so that is the offensive line. Let's go to the D line. Here we go. It's going to be interesting to see again who you think, Mom, because I know we've talked about this a little bit, and we both kind of feel like there might be some different names out there on the bubble, but let's see what we got here. Here's our D line. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. Wow. Well, okay. So it's the exact same, except for the last two. And sorry. Yeah. Well, my last one and your last one. So obviously for our listeners out there, we have Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, Miles Murphy, Joseph Asai, BJ Hill, Sheldon Rankins, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. Both of us think the rookies make this team. We both have Zach Carter. And the reason why I think, Mon, is because of the sample injury. I think the sample injury is the reason why Zach Carter makes this football team. And then we look at number 10. And number 10, Mon, is it's interesting because you have Cedric Johnson, who I actually have right on the clips of making this team. I'm going to talk about Cedric Johnson here in a little bit because I think he could possibly make this roster. I have Travis Bell. So let's talk about, because we know where they all are. Murphy, yes, Murphy did. He did limp off the field. But I don't think it was anything serious. If you guys know, please let us know if it was. But it looked like he kind of had a little bit of a limp, but it didn't look like he needed a lot of help. So who knows? I don't know if that Miles Murphy thing is serious or not. Tell us a little bit about Cedric Johnson, though, Mon.
Yeah, I think pretty much with what happened with Miles today, I think that makes him a lock because he has been one of the stars of camp. He's explosive. All the players are raving about him, even some of the coaches. I think he makes this team, and he's going to contribute a lot, especially on special teams. To me, my bubble player is really going to be Zach Carter. Zach Carter, you said it, with Cam Sample's injury, he played a lot of defensive end at Florida. So he's going to come in. He's lost some weight. They had him at 320 last year to play defensive tackle. I don't think that's his cup of tea. So they're going to move him at defensive end, hopefully, and give him some quality snaps. Again, and everybody made fun of me last week. If they find somebody on the waiver wire that's a good defensive lineman, a defensive tackle, a bigger guy. I asked Elise Jesse this. They don't really have a big-bodied guy there. McKinley Jackson just had his brace taken off today. He's going to be weeks away from playing. I could see them picking up another defensive lineman. Travis Bell looked great, Jake, in that week 1 game against Tampa. he could sneak on the roster because they need another defensive lineman or defensive tackle. So I think Johnson makes the team. I think Carter is the bubble guy. If there's a waiver wire guy there, I think they potentially replace that person and take Zach Carter off. Again, we don't know what's going on with Miles Murphy. Keeping my fingers crossed there. Hopefully, it's nothing serious, but we'll see. I'm happy with the defensive line. Little concerned about the backups on the interior defensive line, but Rankins had a great practice today against the Colts, and we know what BJ Hill is.
Yeah. And Brandon, it was actually Jeff Gunter who retired. Carter is he's still here. So Jeff Gunter is the one that retired this past week. So yeah, and I don't know, man. I love Travis Bell. I think Travis Bell gives you some of that interior pressure. I agree, dude. I think Zach Carter is on the bubble. I really do. I think he is in serious trouble of not making this roster. You have some young guys. I think the only thing right now that's helping Zach Carter is that he's more of the vet as opposed to a couple of those other guys. But I really do think that Zach Carter is in serious trouble. I love Cedric Johnson. I'm going to talk about him when we talk about bubble guys. I just think Travis Bell right now, he just gives you that interior pressure, and the Bengals need that. They need interior help on this defensive line. You said it, man. We're young. We are young. The depth on that defensive line is young, which is a little bit scary. But here we go. Let's move on here. DB. Let's talk about DB and see what we got. Here we go. And all right, here we go. I know you're shocked that I had Jalen Davis making this roster.
But you're running a fever?
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me right now. I have them keeping 9. I'm going to tell you why here once we get to the linebackers. But here we go. For our listeners, we both kept Cam Taylor-Britt. We both kept Dax Hill. We both kept DJ Turner. We both kept Mike Hilton, Josh Newton, both Geno Stone, both Von Bell, both Jordan Battle. But you have a friend of the show, Alan George, who I would love to see make this roster. I am rooting for Alan. Alan George and DeJohn Anthony. I have Jalen Davis as my 9. So you have the Bengals keeping 10 DBs. I have the Bengals keeping 9 DBs, and I will tell you why once we get to the linebackers. But tell me your thought process on Alan George and DeJohn Anthony making this roster, Mom.
I'm just reading a lot of reports from the beat writers. They're raving about his camp. He's had a great camp. He's another guy like Kirkland, like Gillum. They've been on the practice squad. They're grinders. They're coming in. They're doing it. You know, it hasn't been easy for them, and they're getting better each year. Alan George made the roster, the active roster, his rookie year as an undrafted free agent. And you know, of course, you know, he got put back on the practice squad, got called up a few times. I think he's going to be an important part of this team. I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to be a key special teams player. I think Lou Anarumo feels more comfortable with him. I think he's going to replace Jalen Davis. And I love Anthony, another guy, the guy from Ole Miss, him and Cedric Johnson, whoever scouted those guys there hit the home run. I think they're going to be keepers on this team. Bengals keep 10 defensive backs. They do all the time. And they only have 4 safeties, but Dax Hill gives you that little bit of versatility, and Dax Hill is going to be the other starting cornerback. Dax Hill is solidified CB2.
Yeah, and Jennifer wants to know is Allen playing the slot or is he playing outside? I think that's the one thing that they love about Alan George, and we've talked about this for the last couple of years, and even when we had him on the show, he talked about it. That Alan George is very versatile, right? He's a long guy. He's athletic. I think he could play both. I really do, but I look more at him as the guy in the slot to cover those big tight ends, right? I feel like that could be a niche for Alan George. and a reason why he possibly could make this roster. And Dada D, yes, Tyson Anderson, neither one of us have him making this roster. I think I would love to see Tyson Anderson have some success. He's had a lot of injury issues, and I think those kind of things eventually catch up to you. And I'm not sure the Bengals, I'm not sure they really want to take the risk of using a roster spot on Tyson Anderson. I think he definitely makes the practice squad, but I'm not so sure the Bengals feel comfortable enough with those injury issues every single year, not being able to get onto the field. When you give those roster spots up, you gotta have some a thought process of this guy is going to at least be durable for us. And I'm not sure Tyson Anderson is that guy, Mom. Why did you not have him on this roster?
I just think there's only so many slots available, and if anything, he would be number 11. He'll be a priority practice squatter. He'll probably be active during the season. He's a great player coming off the ACL, though. I mean, I think he has a lot of potential, a lot of talent. I just feel that Anthony Battle, Geno Stone, Von Bell, the safeties that we have, I just don't think he's better than them. I don't think he is.
He's not.
And
He's not.
not a knock. I mean, he's coming off an injury. He could easily make this roster. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think he'll be a practice squatter if he doesn't get picked up. DJ Ivy also.
Yeah, and again, Overzealous makes a good point there with DJ Ivy, another guy that just can't stay healthy. Mon, the Bengals are going to have guys on this practice squad that are good football players. You know what I mean? The guys that maybe just could not get on the field for one reason or another. Most of them are health issues. DJ Ivy, Tyson Anderson, those guys not being able to get on the field. All right, here we go. Linebackers, Mon. Let's see what we've got here. This is going to be a good one. All right, here we go. Here we go, Mon. I'm going to explain to you why the Bengals are keeping 6 linebackers. But for our listeners, here we go. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis-Gaither. We both have Shaka Hayward making this roster. We both have how do you say that? Mema Jametta? I think it's Jametta, right?
Jametta, yeah, yes.
Yeah. Listen. Those two guys, I think, have shown enough. I'm going to tell you right now, Mom. John Meta, however you say his name, that guy is going to be a hell of a football player. And doesn't he kind of, he's wearing that 45, doesn't it a little bit Odell Thurman? I mean, obviously we don't want the off the field stuff, but there we go. Moma Jametta. Thank you very much, Eric. Moma Jametta. Don't you think he kind of gives that vibe? Like, he's an incredible athlete. He can play tackle to tackle. He can play sideline to sideline. He tackles really well, Mon. Do you know that Moma Jametta, I'm going to keep saying his name so I get it. Do you know that Moma Jametta is, and I know this is kind of obscure, but he is the second leading tackler in the NFL right now through the preseason. And yes, it's the preseason, but the guy has almost 20 tackles in 2 games. That tells me, Mon, he sees the football well, he understands run fits, and he tackles well. This guy, Mon, he's going to get playing time. Not only is he going to make the roster, he is going to get playing time. What do you think?
Yeah, I have him making the team. I have him and Hayward both. It's controversial. Like Hobson and everybody else has Bocce pretty much a lock. Probably will turn out to be that way. I just feel the Bengals keep 5, 6 at max at linebacker. I think they're going to go with the younger guys with more upside. Bocce's good special teams player. Coach Simmons loves him. He could easily be on the team. I just went ahead and picked Shaka Hayward over him. I like the way he's looked in camp. The Bears game, I thought he looked good. Yeah, remember last year he was one of their priority undrafted free agents. he didn't look that good last year. He was trying to figure things out. He comes from his bloodline in the NFL is huge. He's multiple relatives played in the NFL. I think he could have a long career, and he could be a core special teamer. Jametta reminds me of Burfict. All right, he's not a super athlete, but he's so instinctive. And guys, he's been the star of camp. He really has. Everybody is raving about him. I think he makes the team. The big three are going to be Wilson, Pratt, and Gaither. They're going to be the big ones. Gaither will be the one coming off the bench. But I think they keep 5, and that's who I'm picking. I can see Shaka Hayward getting swapped out for Joe Bocci. I'm hoping they keep Hayward because I feel he's going to be 5, 6, 7-year core special teamer for the Bengals.
Well, and that's why I have all 6 making this team, Mom, because I just think with the new kickoff rules and the way special teams is built now, it's built more for linebackers than DBs. And I think you're right. In past years, we've always kept 10 DBs. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Darren Simmons is going to come into that cut down room and say, I need 6 linebackers for kickoff and kickoff return. And I just see all 6 of these guys making this roster. And you're telling me Akeem Davis-Gaither is the first one off the bench, and that's probably going to be the case for the first couple of weeks. But I'm telling you right now, I am calling this that Momad Jametta is going to end up being linebacker number 3. He is extremely talented football player, and he just sees the field and the ball so well. He's very instinctive linebacker and is going to be a steal. He is going to be a steal. But all right, so that is our special teams. Here we go. Cannot forget special teams. Wow. I didn't know we were going to even talk about this. Let's talk about this punter situation right now between Mon and I. All right, listeners, here we go. Both have Evan McPherson, Money Mac, 3 years, $16.5 million. He deserves every bit of that. Evan obviously makes this roster. Cal Adamitis has ended up being a great long snapper for us. You have Brad Robbins. I have Ryan Rakow. Let's talk about this, but we're going to talk a little punter football right now. Why do you have Brad Robbins making this roster?
I think they're going to go with consistency, and he hasn't been that consistent. I rewatched the Bears game. Rakow is very inconsistent. He has he could have taken over the punting job after that game, but he would boom one, then he'd kick a 30-yarder. It's just the Bengals need a little bit more consistency. Brad Robbins, uneven year last year. I'll be the first to admit that, but he had 17 games under his belt. And you know what? It's not always punting. You got to have somebody that's going to be able to hold the ball. And the guy we just signed to a $16 million contract needs to have confidence with his long snapper and holder. I just gave the edge to the Robbins. It could easily flip the other way. I do like the leg of Rakow, but his hang time is average at best. I think it's going to be Robbins, and Robbins has to take it to another level. And again, we got to figure out what's going on with that hip. But I picked Robbins because he was on the team last year and he has 17 games as an NFL player.
Honestly, I don't disagree with you with the consistency part with Brad Robbins, but bad hips and punters just don't match well. And I think that could be the deciding factor. Obviously, we love Brad. We hung out with Brad. He's a good dude, friend of the show. We love him. I just know that those hip issues for kickers are not good, and hoping for the best for Brad, obviously. But I just think Brad's health right now has got to come into question with this situation. Listeners, you just got some punter talk there. I was not expecting that. Real quick, guys, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. Follow the at Wincinnati Pod. Follow the Wincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter as well. like and subscribe on YouTube for us. Again, right down there below, scrolling the bottom of the screen. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter. We would very much appreciate that. All right. Before we get to the giveaway, though, real quick, Mon, give me 2 guys that you see that you did not list on there that could possibly make this roster. Go ahead.
2 Bengal players that could possibly make the roster. I'll say one. We already talked about him, Tyson Anderson. I could see him sneaking on, making the team. I looked at my original text. I did have 9 Bengal offensive linemen. I could see them going potentially to 10 there with I want to say Trey Hill sticking on the team because there's just so much unknown at center right now. I know Lee. I know they love him. He played every snap the other day. Man, he's only like 285, 290. You know, Jake, we need big boys up there. That's one I could see. I don't know. I really think the Bengals are going to be very active at the waiver wire. They have the 18th pick, so there's 18 other teams that are going to be picking ahead of them. I still see the Bengals picking up 2, potentially 3 players.
All right. Natty Ron says no Hill.
I get it. I get it. Totally get it.
All right. So he's talking about Trey. Yeah, I agree. I do not want to see Trey Hill on this team. I do not want to see Jackson Carman on this team. Those guys have not proven anything to me at all, or I think to the Bengals. I mean, I think you can legitimately say those guys have not proven anything to anybody. I'm going to throw out a name for you, Mon. Well, Eric All is one of my guys because I think the Bengals – I think the tight end situation could get very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how that all works itself out. I think Eric All right now is the odd man out because I don't think anybody picks him up. Yes, and autographed. But my other name, Mon, is Cedric Jackson, and I think the Bengals could – I really do believe this. I think the Bengals could keep 7 receivers. I think because of special teams, again, being a big part of this. But I think Cedric Jackson, I think he has enough hype that Cedric Jackson, the Bengals might be a little worried about putting him out there on the practice squad because I think they're scared that he could go somewhere. And I think Eric All, I don't think Eric All would, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Bengals do that.
Eric All's a lock. Eric All's a lock. He's a lock for this team.
We will see. I don't know if I believe that or not yet, but we will see. But I do think Cedric Jackson could be that guy. And I also, for me, Cedric Johnson too. I think Cedric Johnson could make this roster. I think he's a bubble guy. You had him making this roster. I don't know. I think he very well could. Real quick, I know we're going to get to that giveaway. Mon, the Bengals and the Colts had a little inter squad today. The Bengals looked a lot different. A lot of positives coming out of camp today. The Bengals lit up the Colts defense up and down the field. And the Bengals defense absolutely shutting down the Colts and talking trash the entire time. I don't know if you got to see any of that, but Bengals players yelling at Richardson and telling him to throw the ball, that he's scared. And the Bengals locked them up today. And that's a good thing, Mon. That's a good thing because I don't think we're going to see the Bengals at all on Thursday. The starters, that is. What are your thoughts? You think any Bengal starters on Thursday? And tell us anything away from the inner squad today.
I would be shocked if any starters played. I don't think it's going to happen. You'll see a lot of those roster bubble guys that we have been talking about the last 30 minutes. They'll get a lot of snaps. You'll see the Gillums again. You'll see, Kirkland playing a lot. All those guys will be Cedric Jackson. It was refreshing to read all the tweets and see some of the videos because it was uneven against the Bears in that one practice in that pouring rain, but they dominated against the Colts. Even the Colts beat writers were saying it was ugly. And it's going to be fun to watch them play. It's always fun to watch a Bengal game Thursday night. I can't wait. But it seemed like a good day for the Bengals, and it was good to see Joe Burrow out there throwing the ball, and he looked good. I think they said he was 21 of 26 passing. So, good for him. Man, we just got to stay healthy. If we stay healthy, I think it's going to be a super special year.
I agree. And in times, let me tell you, my man, I agree with you 100%. If it ain't Anthony Munoz as the offensive line coach, bring Willie Anderson in. Take Pollock's job. Either one of those guys. Willie Anderson, please come in here and fix this run game. We need it. Yes, the Bengals tore it up today, which was a good thing. All right, here we go, guys. Bengals Colts. We are giving away 2 tickets, my 2 season tickets. We are giving away tonight. A winner has been chosen. It is in section 158, the lower bowl. I have great seats, guys. I mean, right over the Bengals tunnel. Whoever gets these is going to have a great time. We had a lot of people joining in on this, but only one winner could be chosen. So without further ado, Eric, are we ready to announce the winner? And here we go. The winner is Emily MVP. Emily MVP at M Vogue. You are the lucky winner to the 2 Colts tickets for Thursday night's Bengals-Colts game. Again, Emily MVP, please, you need to contact the Bengals Pulse Twitter page, message it, and let us know that you are still interested in these tickets. If not, obviously, we will throw them back out there to another lucky listener. But Emily MVP, congratulations. Thank you guys so much. All of you. Again, Maan and I, Eric, we're so appreciative of you guys. We just absolutely love you. We love coming on here every night talking Bengals football. So thank you guys for all participating. We really appreciate it. Emily MVP, enjoy my tickets. Make sure that you bring home a dub on Thursday night. And again, we want to make sure that we thank Elise Jesse. Elise, thank you so much for coming on the Pulse tonight. If you guys missed the beginning of the show, Maan and Eric got to sit down with Elise Jesse. Make sure as soon as we end tonight, you go back and watch the show and watch Maan and Eric's great interview with Elise. Great Bengals talk from one of the best. Right, Maan?
Yeah, it was great. Glad that she came on. Hope she comes on again. And it was a good show, man. I can't wait for this football season to start. And well, congratulations, guys. Emily. Congratulations.
Yes.
And enjoy the game.
Absolutely. Again, make sure, Emily MVP, that you contact the Bengals Pulse Twitter page. Message us on there. All right, Mom. That is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give Maan and I that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. As always, follow Maan on Twitter. Follow him. He's only lost twice. He's like 107. He's like, what are you, like 170,002 on Twitter battles.
One loss.
I don't know. That other one was probably a loss.
Technically, I had an Edmonton Oiler thing going, and I got whooped. So I lost on that one, but that doesn't count. So.
Follow Maan on Twitter at the Fire Maan. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlashword 2 H's 88. Make sure you follow the Winston Podcast Network on Twitter at Winston Pod. And guys, as always, make sure you follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse 9, on Instagram, the same without the at. Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, guys, make sure you check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. Once again, we want to thank Elise Jesse for coming on the show. Congratulations to Emily MVP. Make sure you contact us on Twitter at Bengals Pulse. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. You guys are awesome. Over 500 tonight. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us. And we will be coming. Well, we're not sure yet. We're going to talk about that, but we will see. We're gonna try to get on live Thursday night after the Bengals preseason matchup against the Colts. Stay tuned. We will make sure we let you guys know, but we are going to plan on that. He is Maan. I am Jake. Eric is in the back somewhere. Eric, great job again, making sure that you put T. Huddy on Maan's list. Great job, Eric. That is a raise for you. I appreciate it. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Who Dey, Bengal fans? We'll see you soon.